Good evening and welcome back to the Human Performance Improvement Club. I'm your host, Chris. This week's topic is simulation training. We've all heard of it, but when is it actually useful? Tonight, we've spoken to the experts to give you the evidence-based rundown. In each of their videos, backed up with citations as usual, we'll hear how they use simulation training in their respective fields. First up, we have Reese, an astronaut with over 30 successful missions who's now training NASA's up-and-coming space travelers.
Here at NASA's Virtual Reality Department, we use simulations to train astronauts for missions where real-life practice would just be too expensive. With VR, we can recreate things like spaceflight and mission tasks, so trainees can get a feel for what it's like before they really go up, while saving time, money, and resources.
Next up, we have Maddie, who's currently training to be a physician after a decade of being a clinical nursing educator in mental health.
As a medical student, practical learning is a core component of our training. However, I can't just physically operate on a patient. The risks are far too high, literally life or death. That is why simulation-based training is so necessary. It allows medical students, such as myself, to practice hands-on clinical skills in a controlled environment where I have the capacity to make mistakes and learn without causing a medical emergency.
Next, we'll hear from Happy, who waits on the back end of Google to fix everything we take for granted when it breaks.
Hi, I'm an IT worker at Google, and sometimes I receive practical training for IT failure situations. Some examples include large-scale system problems, such as server outages affecting multiple data centers, and data corruption. The simulations focus on rare conditions, giving us the chance to learn how to respond quickly and correctly. We don't encounter these situations often, but it is necessary for us to get prepared so that we can minimize the impact on users' data and prevent leaks or other serious issues.
Last up, we have an Australian legend, Hallie. You might remember her from when she won the gold medal for Australia in 2005 for outdoor rock climbing.
Hi, I love outdoor climbing, but there aren't many spots near me to actually get on real rock. So instead, I mostly train in a gym using a hangboard. It looks a little bit like this. And the little holes are designed to feel like holes you find when you're climbing outside. So the hangboard lets me train even when I can't get to a real rock, kind of like a simulator for climbing.
Now, we've got our experts live in the studio to answer a viewer-submitted question. Thank you to everyone who sent in questions, but of course we can only choose one. And it was Fran's question that really piqued our curiosity. So, experts, Fran says that she's heard how simulated practice can be valuable when crucial aspects of practice, like feedback, aren't ideal for learning in the real world. She's wondering if we have an example of a skill that this applies to.
So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this applies really well to therapist training. In real sessions, it's often hard to get detailed and honest feedback from clients, especially because there usually is this power difference. So clients might not always feel comfortable being completely open. So simulated training can really help bridge this gap.
Absolutely. I think especially considering early on you can record sessions and watch them back with a supervisor, but what about when you're actually practicing? You can't realistically get consent from every client to be able to record the sessions just for your own benefit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even if you were to do that, there is some real sampling bias in the kind of clients you are getting feedback on. I suspect you will miss out on receiving feedback for vulnerable client populations.
Yeah, therapist training seems to be a major area where simulated practice can be really effective, since certain things like feedback are not available in the real world.
Wow, that was so insightful. Thank you, Fran, for that wonderful question. That's all we'll hear from the experts tonight, but before we go, I wanted to share some things to consider about training fidelity in simulations that came up while we were chatting behind the scenes. Whether a training needs high physical or psychological fidelity, so whether it needs to look like the real thing or it needs to make you think, feel, and behave as it would in the real thing, actually depends on the skill that's being taught and the goal of your training. Sometimes you might not need as much fidelity as you think you need to achieve your training goals, so be sure not to blindly pursue a perfect one-to-one simulation of the real thing without first considering what's needed and what's helpful. Now that's all the time we have for today, but please be sure to tune in next week for our extended 5.5-hour special on driver safety training. Thank you for joining us at the Human Performance Improvement Club, and we'll see you next time.